Hi there, guys. And this is week 2, and we're going to be discussing this week leadership research and effective leaders, leadership competencies, personality traits, ethics, leadership styles, and transformational versus transactional leadership. Women as transformational leaders, and women are typically classified as transformational leaders due to the various traits that they have already. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. And so let's begin by looking at what leadership research revealed about the behavior of effective leaders. The scandals involving Enron, Tyco, WorldCom, and other companies have really led to renewed interest in understanding the components of effective leadership. Therefore, the consequences of bad leadership can be so far reaching that they can really impact the well-being and economic health of many people for decades or an entire lifetime, basically. In an increasingly diverse, complex world, the understanding of these components can be helpful in pooling and preparing future leaders. It is a complex task to be an effective leader in today's organizations, really. Leadership research reveals many things about the behavior of effective leaders, women and men in leadership roles, or those who desire to become leaders in their respective organizations, really may want to better comprehend the various factors that's really involved in the emergence of leadership. These factors comprise of leadership competencies, attitudes about male and female managers, intelligence, personality, ethics, and leadership style. Each of these factors subsequently are discussed as we'll discuss as we go through this. So leadership competencies are also called leadership models or competency models. Businesses have found it very beneficial to organize and describe the requirements for managerial and executive positions into competency really based models. And these models really have checklists that are tied to them, and their dimensions, the more comprehensive skills, and provide a shared language and blueprint to the behaviors expected for successful leaders. A good competency model is generally towards the organizational culture. And that's what the organization looks for as far as a good competency. And a good example of a generic senior management leadership competency model would include one, cognitive abilities. These include judgment or dealing with ambiguity, analyzing information, or developing strategy, visionary thinking, and global perspective. 2, interpersonal skills. And these would include influencing, negotiation, managing conflict, and building sustaining relationships, and collaborating with others. 3 would be communication skills. These comprise of listening to others, as well as delivering presentations with impact. 4 would be leadership abilities, and these involve motivating and inspiring others, drive for stakeholder success, managing execution, coaching and developing others, and empowering individuals and their teams. And 5, technical skills. We can't leave those out. And these include demonstrating functional expertise, knowing the business, demonstrating industry knowledge, and showing business acumen. And so one of the benefits of utilizing competency models is that women and men learn the behaviors that are effective to a strong leadership within that organization. And so the competency models provide a more objective way of evaluating oneself and other managers when used with rating scales. So extensive evidence from large-scale studies of gender differences shows that males and females are similar on most, of not all, psychological factors like cognitive abilities, verbal and nonverbal communication, as well as personality variables. So despite that women and men show more similarities than differences, gender stereotypes can reduce the range of behaviors accepted from men and women. So findings from more than 3 decades of research studies have shown that individuals really normally rate managers as showing more stereotypical traits to men than women. And leaders in general are viewed as possessing more masculine characteristics than feminine characteristics. So traditional gender stereotypes show women as lacking in their attributes, believed necessary to succeed as a manager. And we don't know why that is. And we intend to though come to some conclusion around this. And so in ratings made by male managers, female managers were characterized as less than rational in their approach to the world than were men. And managers with this mindset may continue to really operate with binders by favoring a male over a female candidate for the same position. And so this faulty way of thinking can foster a bias really against women in managerial selection, placement, promotion, as well as training decisions. And so it is essential that leaders and organizations really fully understand the competencies, personality traits, and leadership styles that are most effective in today's business environment. So how do we do this? And personality traits. The 5 personality traits, also called the Big Five: openness to experience, consciousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Really, although general intelligence is one attribute that embrace these job performance and occupational attainment, the Big Five really matters, and it's used quite a bit for senior level management positions at organizations. And so openness to experience is the whole openness. This comprises divergent thinking, flexibility, creativity, and resourcefulness. Not to say that women are not creative, but women, we are creative beings and we're very flexible, but and we're very resourceful. That's not the problem with us. Conscientiousness, consciousness. This includes strong work ethic, dependability, and self-discipline. That's us. We have that. Here's what gets us: extroversion. This is assertiveness, optimism, and sociability. This is the one that kicks us every time. And so we have to work on this one a lot. Agreeableness, this includes trusting, altruistic, caring, gentle qualities. That's not us. So women usually range in the process of agreeableness and openness. The consciousness, we have work ethics and we're very self-disciplined, but when it comes to emotion, sometimes that it seems to be one of the challenges that gets in our way. So as it says in our text this week, individuals who demonstrate consciousness and extroversions are more likely to emerge as leaders. Effective leaders also demonstrate greater openness to experience, creativity, resourcefulness, and can envision the future of an organization. Agreeableness and neuroticisms are not as important as the other personality traits in understanding leadership. So consciousness, conscientiousness as well as extroversion are the 2 that seem to get us every time. So leaders are normally extroverts who tend to have an optimistic view of the future and are likely to inspire confidence and enthusiasm amongst followers. Effective leaders seek ways to interact with others and have wide networks of associates. They build teams and motivate others. And so these leaders should be open to new experiences and be willing to take risks. And a lot of times as women, we'll look at all the other things that's associated with that risk and we'll scoot away from that because a lot of times in our mindsets, I think we see what those risks are and we want to avoid those risks when all necessary, especially when it comes to someone else's money. And I think this is probably one of the things that gets us in trouble. So extroversion comprises of warmth, positive emotion, sociability, activity, assertiveness, and excitement seeking. Now, we're so tired. we may seem to miss the excitement part, or people may seem to think that we're not excited because we are busy people. Women are busy people. So, but we have to do a better job of showing that excitement. Women demonstrate greater warmth, sociability, and positive emotions than men. However, men show more assertiveness and excitement seeking than women do. Regarding the traits of openness and experience and conscientiousness, there are a mixed pattern of gender differences in these components. So these differences suggest that the pattern of gender differences requires both men and women to attend to their development as leaders. So no one gender has everything it takes to excel in leadership. Okay? To be effective, all leaders should examine their own strengths and weaknesses and determine what is needed for their own development. I will say this to you, women seem to know more on reviews about what they're good at and not good at, but they take it too far and say, oh, it may be that I can't do that. And so those are things that we really have to horn in on and work on. So apart from the big five discussed, on the previous slide, ethics is another quality and great relevance to leadership. So ethics, gender differences in ethics and morality. Men are more likely to engage in criminal activity because they are daring, they're risk takers. And so ethical questions, not to say women, ladies, that we have to engage in that type of activity, but I'm just telling you that they are more willing to do these things and not discuss them. We kind of feel guilty about those things that we're going to jump into. And then that's where, excuse me, we begin to have challenges. And so there are ethical questions that we need to ask. Do gender differences give women an advantage as a leader? And can organizations decrease occurrence of ethical violations involved with more women in top management? Um, and those are the questions you'll see on slide 6 of the slide decks that you have in your learning material. I just want to say this to you. A lot of times as women, we have to point out those things. Once we know what an organization is looking for, we have to come in and know how to upsell ourselves as the person that's equipped to do those things that the organization is looking for. And so every new breach of ethics in the news heightens concerns about morals in business and politics. This may be our time because women are known to come in and, like I said, be the transformative leader, as we'll talk more about transformational and transactional traits. So um, leadership styles. Let's talk about leadership styles. And so we have leadership styles that are directive or autocratic. We have visionary leaders. We have practicing or democratic leaders. We have pace setting, and we have coaching styles. Women tend to adopt a more democratic or more participative style of leadership, whereas men tend to adopt a more autocratic or directive style of leadership. So women and men both must engage in activities to plan, organize, motivate, and control uh, in their roles as the leader. And the execution of these activities, leaders have to listen, guys, and set standards, develop action plans, and give feedback, direct the actions of others, and reward and punish the development for employees. The extent to which leaders tend to demonstrate these different behaviors falls in a pattern called leadership styles. And leadership style, as I just mentioned, the leadership styles are a function of personal characteristics such as personality and values. The leadership styles in the leader had observed in bosses has been mentors and other managers, the organization values concerning the right way to manage based on the culture at that organization. All right. So directive is more formally called autocratic and entails command and control behaviors that sometimes become cohesive. Then visionary, with this style, the leader gains employee support by expressing responsibilities and the context of the organization's overall direction and strategy. Was afflictive leaders using styles this style stress maintaining relationships between and with employees. Their emotional needs over the job is really that. Uh, Affiliative, I'm sorry. Participative is just really more formally called democratic. And this style is both collaborative and democratic. Leaders using this style engage others, and they build consensus, and they foster teamwork and participation with others. And pace setting is really, this style is really about or concerned with the long-term professional development and mentoring of the employees. Really, this style is appropriate in most managerial situations and should be part of any leader's repertoire. It is most effective when employees are motivated to take the initiative and seek professional development. It is the least effective in crisis or when the manager lacks expertise. So um, we want to be, that's coaching. We want to be careful there. And so we have a lot going on, a lot to really go by. So let's talk a little bit about transformational versus transactional leadership. And this is where people seem to get a little confused about the two. So transformational leadership involves really establishing oneself as a leader by communicating future goals and plans and by coaching and mentoring followers, thereby motivating them to contribute more effectively to their organization. Whereas transactional leadership involves managing in a more conventional way by monitoring employees, administrating rewards for performance, and really taking corrective actions for failures to meet goals. And most leaders use a combination of both control and influence strategies. Now, a third strategy is laissez-faire style, and it's characterized by a lack of involvement and avoidance of leadership responsibilities. So really, guys, studies have found higher effectiveness for transformational leaders. Female leaders are more likely to be transformational leaders than male leaders, and women leaders show more transformational leadership for behaviors that communicate the organization's mission, examine new perspectives for solving problems, and develop mentor followers. These behaviors closely resemble the visionary, really perspective and coaching styles discussed earlier. Now, among the behaviors making up transactional leaderships, female leaders encourage others by providing rewards for satisfactory performance by followers. And now, male leaders, in comparison, were more transactional than female leaders. Men are more than women. Men are more so than women being transactional. Tend to avoid solving problems until they become more severe. And men were more likely than women to be laissez-faire leaders who are absent and uninvolved at uninvolved at critical junctures. So leadership researchers show that women are excellent leaders and are likely to be visionary people. I don't know. What are your thoughts there? So now that covers that chapter. And so this out of this chapter, we learned that leadership research reveals about the behaviors of effective leaders. The consequences of bad leadership can be so far reaching that they can impact the well-being of economic health of many people for decades or entire lifetimes. And that is so true. Bad leadership hurts people. Next, we identified leadership competencies, which are also called leadership models or competency models. And a good example of a generic senior leadership competency model would include cognitive abilities, interpersonal skills, communication skills, leadership abilities, as well as technical skills. And so that was our chapter from Women in Leadership and its Development. So now let's look at some of the other things that we can basically talk about from the chapter, and which is a lot of things really that we have going on. So that was chapter 3 of that book. So let's look at the next chapter and see what we have going on there. So When you pull up that chapter, you're going to see we're going to talk about effective leadership development practices, including challenging job assignments, coaching, mentoring, and leadership development. In this chapter, there are shifts in the structure of work, and time to develop leaders is compressed. We can start by looking at some effective leadership development practices. The driving forces for organizations have created earth-shaking shifts in the structure of work as organizations frequently downsize, outsource, or flatten. Individuals have really learned to adapt to change and transition. Uh, the 30-year career in one organization seldom occurs now, really, guys. And many of us wonder if any, at the end of such longevity, is ever going to be possible again. So organization at one time could take up to 20 years to develop someone for a vice president or other senior management role. Well, now they don't have that kind of time to do that. Now the time to develop most leaders has been compressed into a fraction of that time. Individuals expect to be employed by many organizations during the course of their careers, necessitating repeated transitions and job assignments. So some people may stay at a job no more than 5 years. And so you can see what companies are really having a hard time grasping. So there has to be something to really develop leaders or people who want to be leaders outside of the organization as well as inside the organization. Because, and when I say inside the organization, I mean that the organization in and of itself, because of its cultural differences, you need a blend of both out and in. So women and men both report on these challenging job assignments that men reported that they learn best through challenging job assignments themselves. These assignments are job experiences that force individuals out of their comfort zone to do new or different things. And the challenging job assignments are full of problems to solve, obstacles to deal with, and risky and uncertain choices. A new assignment can be a completely new job or responsibilities added to the existing job. So definitions and examples of challenging job assignments include the following: job transitions, creating change, high levels of responsibility, managing boundaries. These are all things that come with that. In addition, dealing with diversity, a lot of us are challenged now with DEI initiatives. The way you respond to challenges really makes or can handle risk and making and managing relationships can accelerate the development of that person or you as the individual if it's you trying to be the leader or move forward in leadership, a more responsible leadership position, or more engaging or take on more responsibility as a leader in an organization. So most managers really need support from their bosses. Male leaders place a higher value on job experiences, where women value coaching, mentoring, and development plans. Men want to dive in there. I want to get this done. Whereas women saying, you know what, I'm not diving into anything yet. I need some coaching on this. So I think there could be a balance with this. And I think that balance, based on a lot of the research I've done as well, the balance seems to be sometimes we got to take things outside the organization and get that coaching while we take on new jobs and new tasks. We got to fit in, guys. I remember this one experience I had with fitting in, and the guy said to me, this is when I worked at Invesco, and three of the guys pulled me aside and say, Marilyn, we like you, we like your knowledge, we like what you're doing, but we're not going to be able to hold you in here or pull you with us as we go, because we try different things and we're afraid that we're speaking different languages. We'll come down to the bar, for example, and you're up in your room. Why can't you participate with us as we're going around? We're developing relationships and stuff while you're sitting away in your room. We're not going to bite you. We're not going to let anything happen to you, but you have got to fit in. And I will never forget that. I still have this guy's face, in my head, and my mind every time I think about, moving to next levels or what I'm going to do. Because he really gave me some excellent advice. And even when he recommended that I come to Georgia for Invesco instead of being in Colorado, that was a huge thing there for me as well. So leadership development programs are really they enhance strategic leadership in global environments and design to meet the organization's identified strategic needs. The program duration may be 3 to 5 days, and the topics and illustrations, illustrative of business cases are designed to meet the organization's identified strategic needs. Programs also may include direct teaching of materials by faculty, peers, staff, and others. Multi-rater feedback also in 360-degree assessments come from many sources such as the boss, direct reports, peers, clients, customers, and all. And single identity programs offer many benefits to participants. Women report that they provide a safe and supportive way to share experiences, and they can open up about issues that cannot be discussed in the mixed gender programs. And so both women only and mixed gender programs enable women to grow as leaders. And I totally believe this. However, I think that a lot of what's going on with the women is, or men, for that fact, it's missing something that these programs don't teach, that there's an automatic, a lot of times that people think that that's already there. And so to conclude this, effective leadership development practices, including challenging job assignments, coaching, mentoring, and leadership development programs. So that's what we've learned. And this week in closing, we've learned a lot about transactional and transformational leadership, about leadership styles. We've identified job assignments. Examples of challenging job assignments include job transitions, creating change, high levels of responsibility, managing boundaries, and dealing with diversity. And then we also identified steps in the coaching process to include contracting, initial goal setting, assessments, which play a huge role, development, action planning, and evaluation. Mentoring, we also discussed a little bit about mentoring, and research shows that workplace mentoring enhances professional as well as personal growth for both male and females employees. Finally, we covered leadership development programs. Both women only and mixed gender programs enable women to grow as leaders. Deciding on the type of program to attend may depend on the circumstances that a leader is facing at that time in her career. So that's it. These coaching programs are really dynamic, and they're very useful and wonderful for the leader to attend to and participate in. So that's it for this week. I hope that I was able to cover quite a bit with you, and you got the gist of what was going on. I look forward to seeing your answers to the discussion posed this week, and I'll see you there. Take care.